Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Data Dispatch. Hope you guys are having a wonderful day. We're able to see history being performed before our eyes as Nvidia is set to report earnings tomorrow after the bell. We have the entire market that didn't even trade that much today just because they're awaiting what the report is going to say. And this shows you the dependence that the market has on Nvidia regarding the perspective and opinion on the AI boom. On top of that, we have the pressure of the first interest rate cuts. And I think, depending on the volatility that we get tomorrow, could really further the agenda of what's going to be happening with that situation. Nonetheless, investors are expecting up to a $300 billion swing in shares due to the amount of options volatility that is behind Nvidia right now. We're going to be taking a look at the options, and this shows you how many eyeballs are particularly looking at this stock. Pull it up on the screen here. What you see, Nvidia closes here at 128. Basically doesn't do much on the day. You have the general S&P 500, NASDAQ up basically about 0.1%. Dow Jones also. But specifically looking at the options market here for end of the week expirations, August 30th, you see you have at the $130 strike price, 85,000 in terms of call volume, and even have a lot of call volume at the 135. Now, talking about a $300 possible billion swing in shares, that's what the options are showing right now. Option pricing shows that traders are anticipating a move of around 9.8% in the company shares, and this equates to that 300 billion. This could go in the bullish or the bearish direction, but however, such a basically large change within the market cap really shows you how much of an effect that Nvidia has on the S&P 500. And it alone has been a large contributor to the overall profitability of the S&P 500, and option traders are really concerned about missing out on a large upside or possibly by getting hurt than a large drop. Now, talking about some percentages here. Traders are assigning a 7% chance that the stock rises more than 20% by Friday. That's a pretty big jump, while only giving a 4% probability to more than a 20% sell-off. Interesting here for this financial analysis that we have a higher chance and a higher probability, that's what investors are kind of pricing in right now, that Nvidia is going to do well. Now, ahead of earnings, we possibly could get some FOMO coming in here, talking about don't wanting to miss a rally. A lot of with that, Nvidia's average 30-day historical volatility this year, a measure of how much basically this is moving, is at all-time highs. And the options are just reflecting how the stock is actually moving. One big thing that we're going to be looking out for, specifically within the earnings report, let's talk about that. With Q2 earnings in report, specifically, they're going to be looking at the Blackwell line. And that's because we've had reports that there's been possible delays in the chip. Now, suffering possibly some design flaws may delay the delivery to Nvidia customers until later this year. Now, it will be interesting to see how much of an impact that this actually has in terms of market reaction compared to the amount of revenue that's coming in and compared to the amount of earnings per share. Analysts really forecasted in Blackwell to start contributing to Nvidia's top line growth in the third quarter. So if we do see any type of large delay or very bearish news regarding this line, maybe we could see more of a reaction than originally anticipated. So Blackwell is going to be a large thing in focus. Talking about those earnings per shares in the revenue, earnings per share, 64 cents. That's going to be a 137% increase from the year prior, with revenue more than doubling to $28.68 billion. Those are the expectations. Other things, and really that Morningstar points out here, is looking at the supply constraint. We've seen this with the semiconductor chips, talking about supply constraints that do leave a cap on revenue. And with revenue somewhat capped and with production availability, key manufacturers and partners, this is going to be an important niche to look within Nvidia's earnings. At the same time, also looking to see how are the other Semi-chip conductors going to respond. Looking at AMD, AI revenue is coming more into focus, and especially this is going to be a big gauge on how the market is doing. And I really agree here with CNBC that Nvidia has become really one of the world's most important stock, adding a lot of pressure, and I think this is why this is going to be historical earnings. And in terms of volatility right here, and Nvidia being one of the biggest benefactors of the AI boom, we are all hoping that Nvidia is going to do well for the bulls out there. And the past 2 years really have been a joy ride. So the fact that you have everybody that will be looking at that tomorrow, I don't think we're going to see a lot of options being traded or stocks being traded just in general, not including Nvidia. Nvidia is going to have a lot of trading volume, not disagreeing with that. But in terms of the other stocks, I don't think we're going to see a lot of movement until all the eyeballs will be focusing on this. Looking at some of the other stocks that we talked about all the time, Palantir is sitting at a really critical level of support at $30. This can either make or break PLTR in terms of this price zone right here, due to the fact because Nvidia does have a large influence on a lot of the other AI stocks out there. Palantir here, what we talked about, has done a really good job holding up here in the 30s. And you can see the support level right here. Investors are still willing to pay $30 for this stock. However, if we see any changes within the market or PLTR does not hold this $30 level of support, we could see more of a fall than I think a lot of people are expecting. We talked about this in yesterday's video. Of course, data dispatch is still a bull in the long term for PLTR. However, the short-term downside potential, if this $30 level of support is not held, I think cannot be ignored. So with that all being said, we're going to be looking at Nvidia earnings, of course, how the market's going to be reacting, and of course, what is the gauge in terms of interest rate cuts and how the AI industry is performing and demand and momentum. How are these all going to be influenced? There's a lot of things that will be happening tomorrow. We'll be keeping a close eye on it. I want you guys to give me a guesstimate. Do you think Nvidia will do well with their earnings? Do you think Blackwell, that line, is going to have a big impact in terms of momentum and price swings? And do you think we see Nvidia up another 20% here in the next few days? There's a lot of variables on the table. 7%, that's the probability that investors are putting in. So we'll see what happens. Peace out. Take care. I'll catch you guys later. Brace yourself.